if you said, who is Brock? When you're like,
No,
well, what
exactly
do you mean by that? Well, who does he compare to? Who would you compare Brock to?
He's Russell Wilson.
I think he's Russell Wilson too. But to me, the guy who he's even more like, and the guy who I think I would compare him to, because Russell is an older player at this point, and also Russell has already won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And Russell is a Hall of Famer for sure. And Brock's not a Hall of Famer, even though I think Brock's really good.
2.5 years.
What do you mean? In 2.5 years, he'll be a Hall of Famer?
I'm not saying he's Russell Wilson today. I'm saying that this career arc is almost identical to Russell. I'm being a sage. I'm looking into the future. Like,
but I'm just saying Russell's a Hall
of Famer, unbelievable team told not to screw it up. He didn't screw it up in the Super Bowl, though. I guess he didn't find Ayuk there, so whatever. They don't win the Super Bowl, but that was their best shot. Seattle capitalized on theirs significantly. And then they make the decision to stick with the quarterback over keeping the defense together. And all he does is win 10 games or 11 games every year in perpetuity, but no one ever feels good about it. And every game is chaos. And it's just this devil magic energy week in, week out. And we're already getting a hint of it. He's been Russell Wilson forever. And you can't let that walk out the door. And whatever that costs, it costs, because the Niners are going to protect themselves when it comes to handling the guaranteed money. They're not giving him a Deshaun Watson contract.
I don't know if I see Russell, because Russell's a Hall of Famer. And Brock, I don't think is a Hall of Famer. I think Brock's a really good quarterback. And I'm a big Brock fan, a big fan of Brock. But but I don't, and I do see Russell, and I've made that comparison myself. But as far as we're talking about now, an entity to pay, like we're trying to figure out how to pay Brock and what to pay Brock and what to offer Brock. To me, he's Jalen Hurts, and he should be paid like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts signed a 5-year deal with Philadelphia for $255 million, $51 million AAV. Brock Purdy is Jalen Hurts. They're the same. They're the same age. They're the same size. They're the same background. Both have fathers who were instrumental in their upbringing. Both complete about the same percentage of their passes. The touchdown to interception ratio, very, very, very similar. The career record, both have identical win percentages. Identical.
That's funny.
I mean,
that's
literally
funny.
identical.
That's hilarious.
I think Brock is 22-10, and I think Hurts is 44-19. So I mean that they literally have identical win percentages. They have almost identical QBRs. Brock is a little bit better passer rating, 105.7 career to 92.9, but very comparable. Both of them had tons of college success. Both of them played in the Big 12. Both of them were recruited to play by Saban to play for Bama. Both are similar leaders, kind of quiet but strong leaders. I mean, they're real leaders in the room.
You want them at the dais.
Yeah, and they're both are very mature, maybe even more mature than their head coaches. I mean, I definitely think Hurts.
That's a great call.
I think Hurts is more mature than Sirianni.
Super John.
And I think Purdy is probably a little bit more grounded than Kyle, and a little bit more of an old soul. They're similar leaders. They don't go into the room and pop out their chest and hey, follow me and this and that. They're kind of unassuming, lead by example. Both were multi-sport athletes in high school. Neither was a 5-star high school recruit. Both played 4 years in college. Both had very similar completion percentage, touchdowns, everything. I mean, these guys are literally the same guy. Then you look at the combine stuff, the arm length, very similar. The hand size, very similar. The 40 time, Jalen, or I should say Jalen Hurts is 4.59. Purdy's 4.84. So Jalen's faster, but Purdy's quicker. 10-yard split, 155 to 160. All I'm saying is they're both Christians. They're both like guys who are really, they're going to kneel and, on the field and pray with the other team at the end of the game. I mean,
they both wear hoop earrings. I mean,
these guys are the same guy in a lot of ways. And where they most similar,
Brock can actually throw on the run.
Oh, I mean, they're different in some ways. Hurts has got stronger legs and can run the tush push. Brock's definitely has, I think, a better processor and more accurate. Mm-hmm. But Hurts is a stronger runner and a little bit more confident runner. But where I really think they're the absolute same guy is, let's cut right to the chase. Hurts cannot elevate the Eagles by himself, and Purdy cannot elevate the Niners by himself. They're not Josh Allen. They're not Mahomes. They're not Burrow. They're not, who's the other guy?
That might be it.
Yeah, that might be it. There's one more I was thinking of.
Lamar?
Yeah, Lamar. They're not Lamar. They're not. They're not the transcendent. I think what's the guy Broussard said was that if you have Brock Purdy in the top tier, well, okay, you overrated him. I never had him in the top tier. You never had him in the top tier. I said he was a second tier guy. I have Brock Purdy between 5 and 12. Okay.
He might even
I will never move him into the top 5, and I'll never move him past 12. He's between 5 and 12. That's where he is. And to me, when you have a quarterback that's a top 10 quarterback who's 24, there's no way I'm kissing off this guy to take my chances. The same people, by the way, that last summer were complaining to the high heavens as loud as they possibly could that how could Kyle Shanahan put Sam Darnold over Trey Lance on a depth chart? Those same people are now saying, get rid of Brock Purdy and go sign Sam Darnold as a free agent this offseason. So,
they can go sign another shitty defensive tackle that gets injured after 5 games? Because that's all you can afford with the difference between the two of them.
And also it's like Sam Darnold. I mean, it's a beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Brock Purdy in a short amount of time has looked really, really good. He's not a superstar, but he's definitely the best starting quarterback they have. If I said to you, Dieter, give me your quarterback room for the Niners next year, who's in it, and in what order?
It's a 2-person room. It would be Brock Purdy 1, and then a early day 3 pick as his backup. So you need to make some sacrifices because Brock Purdy is going to be making so much. And frankly, I would front load the contract. I would take as much of the hit as soon as possible so that if you are in a jam and you go, oh shit, maybe Brock isn't capable of elevating. Maybe it can get worse. Well, then at least you ate it, and you don't, you're not hoping that the cap goes up 13, 14, 15% every year. You can, suffer through a little bit. And now you have a bunch of money on the back end when all of these contracts, which are clearly aged out already, finally come off the books. So I would front load it personally. I think that they have the fiscal wherewithal to front load it. And then also they're going to be very diligent about protecting themselves on the back end of it. Regardless, if you need to make some cuts somewhere, pretty good spot as backup quarterback. Now, I'm not going out here and saying that Brandon Allen's making too much money or anything, but if you go cheap day 3 at quarterback, you're shaving $1 million or $2 million. You got something. Brandon Allen's at 1.5. You'll cut that in half easy. You're not going to keep a third quarterback, so then you're saving another. So that's $2-3 million, and that seems like pennies, but that does matter when it's all adding up. Maybe that's a depth linebacker for you in free agency. That's where I would go. And it kind of keeps Brock on his toes. Let's think about, this season, you had Darnold last year. Now, everyone sees Darnold's physical traits. He's a wonderful quarterback. He got drafted 3rd for a reason. Right? You watch him throw and you go, oh, I get it. You can fall in love with that. You watch him play a game, it's a little bit different. Now, he's obviously a solid enough quarterback to start in the NFL, and he will start somewhere next year. But Brock had that behind him, and he's coming off of the injury. And there was a fire under his ass. It was self-made. It was Kyle-made. There was some protection there. There was a little bit of, hey, if you slip it all, we're ready to go with the other guy. At what point this year has Brock Purdy ever had to feel pressure? oh, we got these two other quarterbacks that we brought in. They're just going to dick around with each other and see who's number 2. You're our number 1. That's fine. No question Brock's the number 1. But having a little bit of pressure behind you, whether from the team or the fan base or both, doesn't hurt if you're the man. And I think he's the man. I think he carries himself as such. I don't think it'd be a problem to do that. That's not a passive-aggressive thing. That's just covering your bases.
Who do you want?
I mean, I know you're a big fan of the Georgia Tech kid.
I mean, I'll say this. I like Haynes King. Okay, I'm an A&M fan. He started at A&M. He was a high recruit. He's very athletic. He's playing really well for Georgia Tech right now. He's big. He's fast. We're talking about 4.4 speed and a great arm. But I'll say this: he's not the only guy I like. I kind of like Carson Beck, the quarterback from Georgia, who's probably going to be a late second round pick. I like Quinn Ewers from Texas quite a bit. He had 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. Not the biggest body ever, but he's got a good arm. He was a 5-star guy. This guy's been a big deal in the state of Texas going back to freaking 8th grade or something. I mean, this guy's been a celebrity since basically half his life. So I like Ewers. I like Beck. I love Cam Ward. And I really like Riley Leonard. I was talking to Nick McLeod, who's a Notre Dame guy, about Riley Leonard. And he's like, I don't know. He goes, I really like Riley Leonard. We were talking about it. He's like, but I don't know if he's got quite an NFL arm. But I'll say this. He's starting to show me more and more every game. And I kind of agree with him. I would take a chance on one of those guys. Riley Leonard, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, or Haynes King. Obviously Cam Ward is going to be gone in the top 10, but and so they won't have a chance at him. But I'm not a huge Jalen Milroe guy. I'm not a huge Penn State Drew Aller guy. I'm not a Shedeur Sanders guy. I'll tell you this: the other guy I really like. He's not coming out, but who's the Nebraska quarterback?
You like the freshman?
Yeah, the freshman Nebraska quarterback. I liked him.
Yeah, Raiola, Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, Raiola.
He's a true freshman. Yeah. He's
swaggy. Is that Dominic Raiola's little brother? It's got to be because his brother played in Nebraska, named Raiola. Anyway, I love the way. I loved just the disposition, the confidence, the calmness. He's very calm for a freshman. Anyway, but I mean, and there are other guys that I like too. But
I mean,
I don't think Brock's a Hall of Famer.
Curtis Rourke from Indiana. He's pretty good. He's pretty accurate.
Damon loves him. But let me just say this. I don't know that Brock's going to be a Hall of Famer, so I do want to keep trying to find Hall of Famers. And the bottom line on this is that I would either go for reclamation projects or draft picks behind Brock Purdy, and I would be real aggressive, and I wouldn't do, put guys in the room that make him happy or make it easy. Let's challenge each other a little bit. Let's make it uncomfortable. A little professional discomfort sometimes is exactly what they need. This is a very comfortable room this year. Brock's the starter. The other guys aren't anywhere close to jumping him for the starting job. And Mordecai doesn't seem like he's in the running to jump them for the backup job. So there's not a lot of competition going on at the quarterback position. But that's what I would do. I would say I'm going with Brock because he's the best I got, but I'm going to keep drafting guys behind him, and I'm going to go with a young quarterback room behind him, and I'm going to see if I can develop my quarterback. And either I've got somebody there if Brock's not the guy, or I have somebody, Quinn Ewers plays well for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden somebody wants to give you a number 1 pick in the offseason. So I'm investing in the quarterback position behind Purdy as a way to build my roster by trading that guy. So I'm going to hedge against Brock not being great and trying to look for that future Hall of Famer, and maybe I'll luck out and find a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm not taking him in the first round and probably not in the second round, but from the third round on, I'm interested in, a backup quarterback, a rookie on a rookie salary, who potentially could be a future starting quarterback that you could trade for assets. What do you think?
You mentioned the Jalen Hurts thing, and it should be noted that the fear that so many fans have, and it's founded, is that, if they pay Brock, they won't be able to build themselves a good team around him? Well, first off, they already have had the ability to build a good team around him, and you can see what's been done. So I guess it's just shot from the start. The second point is you compare him to Hurts. Philadelphia is paying their quarterback $50 million a year. They have no problem building a good team around him. It's pretty straightforward. They put $100 million into the offense. They got a bitchin' offensive line. They got 2 receivers that are getting 20 plus million a year, in one case 30 million a year. They got a great tight end who's making good money. They just added Saquon Barkley. Why not? We can do that. And then they went and they drafted a bunch of players on defense. And yeah, it maybe took a year, not with Mitchell, the corner who's been outstanding, and DeJean, who, real quick, Cooper DeJean has red flags up and down his medical report. There's a reason that he went in the second round. It's not because of talent. It's because teams are wary of how long he'll be able to play. The 49ers already had a nickelback. He is an outstanding nickelback. I love Cooper DeJean. The Niners were never going to take him, not with the red flags and not with the Amador Lenore on the roster. Sorry, it just wasn't going to happen. That said, Jacoby Dean, Jalen Carter, they went and they're not spending money on that side, though they have some money allocated, no doubt. They're going out here and they're getting young, fast, energetic, powerful players to play on their defense, and they put some good money into Vic Fangio to get them together, and look at that defense now. I mean, as you were saying the other day in Santa Clara, they're your Super Bowl team out of the NFC, and it's hard to disagree with you. But last year, their defense was a mess because they had a bunch of old guys on it, and it was ramping down, and the young guys hadn't come up yet. This is the tried and true model now. Okay, you got to pay a quarterback. That's fine. That means that you can either not pay the guys around him on offense because he's that good, or you go young and fresh on defense and roll the dice there. There's no perfect option, but frankly, I'll pay the offensive players where at least my backups can be 4th, 5th, 6th round picks where you have a chance of getting some spark, right? That's just athleticism and stuff. And then the high paid guys, they're the ones coming through with massive production, especially on the line. That's a great place to spend money, in my opinion. But on the defensive side, that's about chaos. That's about having numbers. That's about rotating dudes in. That's about just being fast. You know where you get fast guys? It sure as shit ain't free agency guys looking on their 3rd contract like a Devondre Campbell. You get fast guys through the draft, and then you teach them how to play because you have a good coordinator. So if the Niners are going to, spend some money on Brock Purdy here, and we all agree that they will, I got an idea. Take another chunk of money and spend it on a defensive coordinator that can coach some dudes up, that can get some guys to the next level. Say what you will about Steve Wilkes. I've said it all in a negative sense. He built up that secondary pretty well. He did a good job with them for a year. I heard Fred Warner yesterday say in no uncertain terms that Nick Sorensen does not know what he is doing. When he was just going on, like, we don't know the calls, we're out of control, we're not getting the same, places on the same plays. Man, it's almost as if they don't have someone coordinating a defense. And I don't know what Brandon Staley does on this team. I guess he has the Anthony Lynn, former Chargers head coach fellowship, that we don't know what he does. But this defensive staff has failed a defense that has a couple of players, the older players, the highly paid players, look good in one direction, and the younger players coming up, but maybe not coming up fast enough. They're very reminiscent of the Eagles last year in their defense. And I think they probably have to do what the Eagles did last year, which is fire some people and bring in some new ones and pray that they're the right guys for the job again. But maybe go outside the building, swallow your pride a little bit, and bring in somebody who can actually coach up a defense and has a track record of doing it, as opposed to just doing whatever Kyle wants him to do and hope that it all works out because we have, quote, so much talent.
No more unproven dudes. I mean, Come on. You were the Super Bowl favorite this year. The thing is falling apart. You went with a totally unproven first-year coordinator with a team that you had Super Bowl aspirations. It makes no sense.